In this video, we're going to begin our study of negative numbers. I have a number line, and in the center of the number line is the number 0. Numbers to the right of 0 are positive numbers, and numbers to the left of 0 are negative. For example, you might have a temperature which is minus 2 degrees Celsius, so obviously it's below freezing. It might be minus 2 below freezing, minus 3 below freezing, and that's where we'd use negative numbers in real life. And to order directed numbers or negative numbers, we just need to keep in mind how the number line looks. So the numbers that are more negative we consider to be smaller on the left of the number line, and the numbers that are more positive are going to the right. To put the numbers in ascending order, we need to remember that ascending means smallest to biggest. So here, the number which is considered smallest is going to be the number which would be to the furthest to the left on the number line, which would be, in this case, minus 20. So the smallest number here would be minus 20. Then I would have minus 8, because that would be back here somewhere. Then minus 3, which would be here. And then 4, 7, and then 12 would be up here. So we could see it would then go 4, 7, and 12. Here's a question for you to try. I'd like you to put these temperatures in descending order. Remember, descending means largest to smallest. To help you, you might want to draw a number line. Pause the video now, and when you're ready for the answer, press play. Here is the answer. We're now going to consider how we can add and subtract negative numbers. So I'd like us to have a little thought experiment in mind. So imagine that we have a beaker of water. So here's my beaker of water, and it will have a starting temperature. And we can change the temperature of the water by adding lava cubes. And a lava cube, if I add it into the water, it will increase the temperature by 1 degree Celsius. And if I add an ice cube, it will decrease the temperature of the water by 1 degree Celsius. Now, what we can consider is if the temperature of the water is 0 degrees C, so that's really when the water is going to freeze. But let's just imagine, for argument's sake, that the liquid in this beaker, not necessarily water, is 0 degrees C. If we add a lava cube, what will the new temperature of the water be? Well, you should notice it's going to be 0 degrees C, which is what the temperature started at, plus 1 degree C, which is just 1 degree Celsius. So we can see from that, we've really worked out that obviously 0 plus 1 is 1, which isn't particularly exciting, but let's make it a little more tricky. Imagine I add an ice cube. So I'm adding an ice cube into the water, again, or the liquid. Imagine that it starts off at 0. So I'm saying 0 plus minus 1. Well, think about what the final temperature will be. If the temperature of the liquid was 0 and you're adding in minus 1, you're adding an ice cube in. If you're adding in an ice cube, the water's obviously going to get colder. And because every ice cube is minus 1 degree Celsius in temperature, the new temperature is going to be minus 1 degree Celsius. So we've worked out that 0 plus minus 1 is minus 1. Now let's try a trickier one. Imagine that the liquid has an ice cube in it already, and the current temperature of the liquid is 2 degrees C with the ice cube. So I can say my current temperature is 2 degrees C, and imagine what happens if I take the ice cube out. So if I take the ice cube out, the water or the liquid will have to get hotter because you're removing something which is cold. So it has to get hotter, and how much do we think it's going to get hotter by? Well, it's got to get hotter by 1 degree because the ice cube is minus 1 degree C in temperature. So that means the new temperature will have to be 2 plus 1, which is 3. And this has happened when we've taken away minus 1. So we can actually say 2 take away minus 1 is 3, which is very counterintuitive. Now let's try a trickier one. Imagine that the temperature of the liquid is -3 when there are 2 ice cubes in the beaker. So move 2 ice cubes in here. So when there are 2 ice cubes in the beaker, the temperature is -3 now, in this example. So I want to know what the new temperature will be when I remove the 2 ice cubes. So in terms of a calculation, this is going to be -3, that's the temperature with the 2 ice cubes in. And when I take out the 2 ice cubes, that's like taking away -2. Now, if I take 2 ice cubes out, the liquid needs to get hotter by 2 units, or 2 degrees C. So that means my new temperature is going to have to be -1 degrees C. -3 plus 1 when I take 1 ice cube out, add 1 again when I take another one out, and that will give me -1 degrees C if we think about a number line. So we should end up noticing a pattern to do with the signs. These are our rules, in fact. If I have a plus immediately next to a plus, it will become a plus. A minus immediately next to a plus becomes a minus. A plus immediately next to a minus becomes a minus. And a minus immediately next to a minus becomes a plus. So this is what we have to keep in mind whenever we're adding or taking away negative numbers. And you can also use a number line to help you. So let's have a look at some examples. -3 plus 4, that's a simple example. I can just do that with a number line. So I mean, once you get good at this, you don't really need one, but if we imagine I'm at -3, if I add 4, I go -2, -1, 0, and then 1. So I've added 4 because I've gone to the right by 4, and I'm going to end up at 1. So -3 plus 4 is 1. -3 plus 2 is going to just be -1, because I'm going to be at -2, and then -1. 2 plus -3, this is like adding ice cubes into the beaker. If I add ice cubes, the water will get colder, it'll become more negative. So I need to remember, using my rules, plus immediately next to a minus becomes a minus. So I just have 2 take away 3. And again, we can think about that with a number line. If I'm at 2, if I take away 1, I end up at 1. Take away 1 again, I end up at 0. If I take away 1 again, so I've taken away 3 in total, I'm at -1. So the answer is 2 take away 3, which is -1. Here are some questions for you to try. Remember the rules, keep them in mind, and when you pause the video now, and when you're ready for the answer, press play. Here are the answers. Keep in mind that with D, the answer is -10. A lot of people will think, well, I've got a minus and a minus, that makes a plus, so shouldn't I have +10? Well, that isn't the case. The rule was, if I have a minus immediately next to a minus sign with nothing in between, that becomes a plus. It does not mean that whenever you have 2 minuses, you get a plus.